God damn, I love that song. I absolutely love that song, MDC. I was jamming away listening to that as we were counting down there, mate. Do you know the song?
I mean, I've heard it before on the podcast, I assume. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty solid.
It's just a nice, like, really happy vibe song, isn't it? It's yeah. Another DayZ song that's synonymous for me is Moselina by S. Keen that was made for Mr. Blackout. He used to
Oh
call
yeah.
his Moselina, but that song there, from that Running Man video, "We're Barely Infected," and it's just it's one of the ultimate DayZ songs for me, mate. But enough idle chit chatter, buddy. MDC, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. I just woke up, so about 20 minutes ago. So
Okay, so when you messaged me yesterday, you just said I've got to make sure I don't sleep in. I was like, hang about, he's in the UK.
I know, yeah, the
What
time
is your
zones,
sleep
yeah.
cycle, mate?
I wake up. I normally wake up about usually I wake up about 3 hours from now. Because my missus she works nights in the States, so I'm
Yep.
basically on the same sleep cycle as her.
Oh wow,
So she's 5 hours behind and she works nights, so she's at
and
work
she's
from
she's in
like 7
America.
onwards. Yeah.
Damn, brother, that's got to be challenging for you.
Um. Yeah. I mean, it's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
We've been together about 2 years now, so
Yep.
this is probably going to be the last year that we live apart. So
Yep. Well, I'm happy
next
for you, mate.
next
That'll
sort
be
of year
good
or
when
so.
you're
So
back together. My
yeah,
missus is
yeah.
from doing a bit of fly in, fly out work at the moment as well. So admittedly she's only gone for during the week, but yeah, it's never
Mm.
never good being away from your loved ones. But
No.
mate, thank you so much for coming on. The reason I asked you on was the other fortnight when we had Helkiana on. There was a
Mm.
number of modders in chat which really warmed my heart. Hashtag adopt a modder, folks. But you were making a comment in there that at the time it caught my eye, and I thought I've got to remember to speak to you about it because I kind of get where you're coming from, and to refresh people's memories who weren't here last week, last episode, but. We were talking about, just the issues with modding and, that stuff that was happening with those dodgy mole servers and the dangers of, or the not real so much dangers, but there are issues with mods and all the rest of it. And MDC made a comment in the chat about he has concerns about the way that it's being handled with Reforger. Now, do you actually? I'll just show just how stupid I am if I try to explain to MDC. So I'll let you explain what the new method is for mods on the Armor Reforger platform.
Okay. So essentially, Bohemia wants their own modding platform. They want their own version of the Steam Workshop.
Which in principle sounds good.
Yeah, it's so my major issue is not with the TOS for the workshop, because ultimately the TOS for the workshop basically just says if you put anything on the workshop and we don't like it, we can take it down, right? Which is fair enough. I mean, it's their sandbox. But the issue that I have is that the way that they've designed the tools makes it very, very hard. It's a one-way process. Getting stuff into the tools is very, very easy. Getting anything out of the tools again is impossible. And
What do you mean by that?
So, okay, so let's say, for example, you import with the current workflow with DayZ. If you import a model from, say, FBX format. FBX is like 3D Studio Max format,
Yep.
but it's also supported by Blender and Maya and pretty much every single other thing on the under the sun. If you import something into Object Builder from FBX, you can then export it back to FBX from Object Builder. So if you bring something in, you make some changes to it in Object Builder, and then you can export it out again, and you haven't lost your work. You've still got access to the original source that you've spent time creating in Bohemia's tools. With Reforger, on the other hand, once you import a model, it is then stuck inside Workbench. You can't get it out of Workbench in any format other than one that only Bohemia has the ability to reverse the source from. So it would be like the equivalent of exporting a binarized model. So there are two types of models for DayZ. You've got what are called MLODs, which is basically unbinarized source. So it's the original source format. That format is open. It's been, it's been documented, and there are converters to go from MLOD to any other format and from any other format to MLOD. So, for example, you've got things like the Armor toolbox for Blender. So people can make models in Blender, export them as P3D format from Blender. But if you then binarize that model, it basically it changes the format so that
Someone's saying
no
you mean
longer...
compiled and uncompiled in chat?
It's essentially, yeah, it's not really compilation because it's not code, but it strips out anything unnecessary that's only useful for the development process. So it basically it strips out a whole bunch of stuff, and the resulting format has not been is not a public format, right? So, for example, the little thing that we were discussing previously about the tool being sold, that was a tool that I created to go from binarized P3D format back to unbinarized MLOD. So what I can do, actually, if you give me 2 secs here while I figure out how this works.
Yep, just down the bottom there's a share button, so you can share a screen.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so for example, let's take a random mod off the workshop. This is, obviously DayZ. So we'll take Encoder's Advanced Weapon Scopes. Like a fantastic mod. If anyone hasn't used this mod, check it out. Okay, so we'll do that. Then we'll go in here and we'll try and open, for example, I don't know, like the RMR. So when you open it up, it says unable to load binarized version of the P3D. Mesh loaded into the editor is only known bounding blocks of the P3D model. So basically, I can't see the original model. Now, if I need to, for example, there are a few reasons that you would want to get back to an editable format. So the most common one, aside from just, stealing people's shit, is to, if you want to do a retexture of like a clothing item or something.
Yep.
A lot of the time, most of the texture work that people do is done in 2D. They're basically looking at the the actual texture.
I've seen these before, yep, where it's that weird flat laid out sort of, looks nothing like what the actual object is in game, but to artists and 3D modelers, it makes sense.
It makes sense, and if you understand how it's been unwrapped. But if you don't understand how it's been unwrapped, even then it doesn't really make sense. So actually, let's do a better example. Let's pull up something from Windstride. Again, another very talented modder. So we'll open, I don't know, let's say the high knee sneakers. There you go. Okay. So all right, so we can't open these because they're binarized. But if we ever look at the texture, this one's not too bad because you can kind of see where everything is. But sometimes the unwraps can be pretty crazy. So what we'll do is we'll take the original model and we will convert this using the tool I created into the original source file. So now I can open this and I can actually see the model. So then I can go in here, I can go in UV sets, and I can see this, and it will show me, let's say I want to find out where, I don't know, where the laces are. Right, so I'll go in here, I'll highlight, the laces. as best as I can because just doing it quickly. That one there as well. Okay, so then I go back in here and I press that button, and it shows me that these are all of the selections for the laces.
Mm-hmm.
So then I can open up the texture in Photoshop and I can go in and I can change the color of the laces, and that way I don't, I know exactly what I'm retexturing here. The other thing that you can do is you can the tools aren't public, no. So this, I mean, they are. If you go on unknown cheats and search for deoddle, you can go and download it. But don't pay somebody for a debinarizer, okay? I didn't make it so that people could sell it. Just, someone recently I found out had been selling it, and I was kind of pissed off about that. But anyway, but this is not something that's officially supported by Bohemia. Bohemia doesn't want you to do this because they don't want people to be able to open up, for example, all of the vanilla shit, like what we got here, like the M4. They don't want people to be able to actually do this because that would make life too easy for people, and we can't be having that now, can we? So,
but is that just them protecting their IP, or
no? Because this tool exists. Like, it's not like this. It's not like this isn't a thing, And there's the feedback tracker ticket that was created by Helkiana recently. Let's have a look. Where is it? I actually had a notification. Somebody commented on it earlier. All they commented was yes. Yeah. So Bohemia's never going to do this. Basically, she asked for debinarized source for basically all of the game files, the original source files. And the reason why is, let's say you want to do other games / publishers allow some of them. It depends. The thing is, Bohemia is kind of somewhat unique in that they don't use standardized file formats for anything. A lot of developers, if they're using Unreal Engine, they're using Unity, etc., it's very, very easy to extract the meshes, make changes, re-upload them, etc. Whether or not they, go out of their way to facilitate that depends on the company. There's people that do, like GSC, the Stalker people, for example, are very, very well known for supporting people making modifications to the game in that regard. Same with even Valve. I think Valve is pretty good when it comes to giving people access to source examples and things like that to modify, to create their own game modes for things like Gary's mod and all that. Or I think it was Gary's mod. But yeah, we've got what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So if you want to do something like the like Helkiana's example is about things like the base building, right? So you look at the base building stuff in DayZ. Everyone knows, like most people probably know of Even More Doors. I created that, and basically what I had to do was I had to in Blender, I had to create everything from scratch. So if I open up the Blender files, you'll see that the models are very, 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 very basic in comparison to the vanilla ones, with regards to the amount of cuts and separations there are in the actual wood. Hold on a second, where is it? Oh my god, why is this not? There you go. So it's just a bunch of rectangles, that were just custom done.
Because I know that they are very protective. Like a while back when I had an idea about making lockable crates, and I was using Windstride, and he said, we can't use the vanilla texture. They just won't let you use it. You've got to create your own design. But then I saw
you can do textures. You can do textures.
Oh, okay.
That's not an issue. Yeah, you have to UV unwrap them yourself. So, for example, this is how I've done the the planks, and basically I'll just move these around until it looks not shit, and then I'll just go with that kind of thing. You can kind of see that, as you move stuff, it changes the.
That is cool. I'm actually learning a lot. Like, I'm one of the dumbest motherfuckers out there, but this is all actually quite interesting to me because it's amazing seeing some of what two very, very talented modders, animators, designers, and everything do. Because at the end of the day, I just get to appreciate them in game. But it is nice to be able to see a bit of what you guys do and some of the issues you face as well. Like, when you've got someone of Helkiana's status raising it as a concern, that adds a lot of weight to what she's suggesting.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's the thing that she had. She had the gazebo. She wanted to rework the gazebo and have it look more vanilla. And it would have been so much easier if we could have just gone in, looked at, the fence here, right? And this shows up as proxies, but let's do show proxy objects. And off that. So there's the model for the fence, And it would be nice to just be able to say, well, okay, I want a double high fence, and to just be able to take, these parts and just duplicate them and just move them up and then pack that, and then there you go, you've got a double high fence.
Because I would assume that they would want stuff to stay in the same style as much as possible, just for the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, but they don't want to be shown up. This is the problem. This is what it all boils down to, right? Bohemia are perfectly happy for other people to go out and do stuff as long as it doesn't make them look bad. And, okay, great. If you don't want people to put Nazi flags on all of the DayZ stuff, right? And then, people accidentally, people look at the game, outsiders look at the game and go, oh my God, it's a game that promotes Nazis. Fair enough, right? That's reasonable. But when it's a case of, oh, we don't want people to do stuff that's better than what we've done because it makes it look like we don't know what we're doing, that's an issue. And then you've got like again, like some of the vanilla DayZ models are just broken. Like for years and years and years, everyone's going to remember this because most people have used Mass's many item overhaul, right? You remember he had a Glock 18 that was fully automatic.
Mm-hmm.
The like the green and the tan Glocks.
Yep.
And they had the slide on them wasn't colored. It was still black. So there was the body of the Glock, and then there was the slide, and the slide was still the original color. It was because Bohemia had accidentally not included the slide in the what's called the hidden selection, which is what allows you to retexture stuff. So they just made a mistake with the Glock model. And it was like that for years. And if you debinarize the Glock asset and then add it to the hidden selection and then repack it into your server mod or whatever, or another mod on the workshop or whatever that has, that's the Glock model with that thing properly included in the hidden selection and override the model, then you could have a fully tan or a fully green or a fully black or a fully pink Glock without any issues. You could go ahead and just fix a minor issue that had been in DayZ since, like, I don't even know when this started. It might have been like that from the beginning because obviously we didn't have mod support originally. It could go back. It could have gone back to the 0.22 days or something like that. But you could basically have you could fix the issue. But then Bohemia will pull your mod down off the workshop because you're repacking vanilla assets. And it's like, why? They don't want to be showed up in any way, shape, or form. They don't want people to draw attention to the fact that they've made mistakes, even by fixing them.
See, how do you come to that assumption? Because they've made a lot of mistakes with the game over the years. If you've been playing it since early access, my God, there's been some absolutely horrendous bugs and glitches and all the rest of it. But for the most part, they don't really seem to address it, but they've never really shied away from the fact that it is kind of there. It's almost a bit of a joke. That like I've got the one in the podcast Discord where if someone types the word bug or bugs or anything like that, it just comes up as a warning because we don't call them bugs, we call them unintended game features. But yeah, it's what's this? Oh, Scar's Peter linking a book there. I'm guessing that was maybe meant to be sent in another chat, but how to win friends and influence people. Veteran, okay, he's having a dig at me, cheeky bugger. But yeah, I know they've always been really funny when it comes to the like even you guys can't use Armor 3 stuff. You can only use the legacy Armor stuff in the game, which has always been. I've never understood that, but yeah, you go for it.
No. The justification for that is reasonable because it's basically Armor 3 is a current product. They don't want people having access to the Armor 3 content without buying Armor 3. So
okay,
I kind of understand that. That's fair enough. And obviously Armor 2 is not really a current product, so they don't really care if anyone is buying it or not. So not wanting their current shit to be ported to DayZ, I get that. But just not wanting their shit to be fixed, I don't get it. Like why wouldn't they want their stuff to be fixed? It just doesn't ring true.
There's a comment there from Mr. White. I'm sorry, but I've always felt if someone has made a mod for the game, it would not come to official DayZ, or am I well off? You could say that some mods have made it to the game, such as the Toxic Zone. That was Iceblade from memory, was it, MDC? Who made the Toxic Zone mod?
Toxic Zone was Dimitri.
Dimitri, that's right. But that said, they had made references to toxic zones back around 2015-ish, I think. So it would have been nice if they'd given him a bit more credit when they did introduce it. But at the same time, it's not like it was a novel idea that they hadn't already discussed. And yeah, we've seen other things slowly, get added and so on. But the ultimate counter to that, Mr. White, is DayZ itself was a mod for Armor, and they made it into an official game. So, yeah, it is strange that there is such a weird relationship in some aspects with modders. Although, from what I've seen since starting to do the show, MDC, the relationship has improved so much. In that, like, I remember when we first started doing this show and just how bad it was when an update got dropped. There was little to no information given to modders beforehand. They would make some major changes that would, break massive mods. Like, I just remember some of the discussions we had, back when Brim was on the show. You were on the show way back early then. And compare that to now, it just seems like it's so much better.
No. Like, I know this goes against the narrative, and the problem is you have to look at who's pushing the narrative. And the one thing that they have stopped doing as much, but they still do it. Like to be clear, like they still do all of the same shit that we were moaning at them for doing years ago. Like they still do it. But the one thing that they have stopped doing as much is they've stopped introducing as many entirely game and mod breaking changes between the last publish of Experimental and the publish of Stable. So what they used to do is they used to publish Experimental, and they used to still make a shit ton of changes between the last Experimental push and the first Stable push.
Yep.
And so all of the mods, even if we prepared based on the current, the last version of Stable, then they would still break stuff. they've stopped doing that as much, but they still do it occasionally. But there are entire new features which are completely unnecessary that get put in just because people are basically trying to be like smart asses on the development team without consideration of the impact it's going to have on.
That's a big statement.
mods.
Have you got an example of something like that?
Yeah, I did. I got a perfect example. I'll show you. So this one in particular pissed me off. So years and years and years ago, the way that clothing.
Okay, is this the one where Dab made the comment and they backed off from doing what they were going to do?
No. This is a billion times worse than that. So there was a thing called. I can't remember where it is now. It could be in. So there was a little concept called no eyewear, right? So no eyewear, no helmet, no mask, etc. Right. So this is how they determined whether or not you could wear a mask with a helmet, and glasses with this mask, etc. Right. It was just basically a kind of exclusion system that they had in the game, and that was the original way of doing it. And then they introduced a script-based method for doing it. And then that wasn't enough for them. And basically a new developer, I'm not going to name any names, a new developer joined Bohemia and saw an opportunity to do to basically come up with a new way of doing this thing, even though it was an issue that had been solved, and all of the modders that create custom clothing knew how the system worked, and this is even after they've had to change from the original method of no eyewear, no helmet, no glasses, whatever. They then added a new thing called attachment exclusions, and I need to try and find.
So, what was the point of the no helmet, no eyewear thing? What was that?
It was basically to stop people from, like, for example, putting on glasses while you're wearing a gas mask, kind of thing.
Okay, yep, I get it now.
And that's fine. Like that system worked fairly well. Then they replaced it with a script-based one because it's slightly more performant. Okay, I understand that. That's fair enough. And then they came up with this insanity, and it's called the attachment exclusion slot map. And it is a shit ton of code that was added by, again, someone trying to be a smartass and coming up with a less.
Why would they do that? Why would they try to be a smartass?
To justify their position on the dev team? I don't know. Like I say, it was a new developer that came in, and one of these people who everyone celebrates. Oh, this modder finally joined Bohemia as a developer. Blah 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 blah. And then they came in and they decided, oh, I'll do this, and they just didn't care that it was going to ruin every single person who did custom clothing's mods. They just didn't care.
See, admittedly, I don't go in the Reforger modding Discord that much, but this is the first I've heard of this being an issue. And I do speak to a lot of modders. And
oh, you mean the Infusion modders Discord?
Yeah, sorry, the Infusion modders Discord.
Yeah. No, this affects people like Windstride and just server owners in general, right? So I'm sure that like if I go, let me see if it was posted in. No. So some of this stuff gets posted in the owners Discord, and some of it doesn't. Oh, yeah, there it is. Yeah, okay. So it was introduced, 1.21. So this was basically, other people have pulled this up. Anyone having issues with the mask slot not working, as in not allowing items to go into the slot. According to players, it will randomly stop working if they do an animation like F11. It will then work again for a short period of time. And, then there's the new slot exclusion logic in 1.21. It's idiotic, blah, blah, blah. And then I have to, go through and fucking find a fix and then send the fix out to the people that are impacted by this issue. And it's annoying, right? Because it doesn't take a genius to realize that if you change a whole bunch of logic for something as basic as what items go onto a player, then it's going to break third-party mods. And you shouldn't do shit like that if it's going to break other things.
Like, again, I'm trying to get my head around this. Could there be a reason that you just don't understand as to why they did it?
No. It's like, I understand the logic. I understand the desire to want to, think that it's not out of hostility.
Well, just what Zyson just said in chat there is what I'm thinking. I myself, I struggle to believe that a junior dev or whatever could come in and make a change like this without it being approved by the rest of the team on the DayZ dev team. That's where I question.
Yeah, but what makes you think that the people that they report to understand what they're doing?
Good point. Yeah.
Like, I don't think people quite understand what is and what has been happening with DayZ development from the beginning. I think there's like this assumption that it's somehow like competently led and that everyone's honest and that everyone's working towards the same goal and that there's transparency internally and we just aren't aware of that kind of thing. And
one thing I have heard said about DayZ is that we're basically dealing with a cooking pot that has had dozens, if not over 100 different people all playing with it. So it is a spaghetti code. I've heard it referred to a lot. And really the only way to fix it would be to completely redo it. So could that be what's impacting this? They're just trying to come up with solutions to keep it all going together.
No. So this issue here, this is an instance of a part of the game that hasn't been touched since, so the last person that worked on this doesn't work at Bohemia anymore, right? It's because obviously, developers have moved on. People like Eugen Harton are no longer with Bohemia. So the last time this was...
He's doing very well for himself, by the way, as well, which is good to see.
Yeah, congratulations to Eugen. The last person that fucked with this doesn't work at Bohemia anymore, whoever that was. And somebody has come in and they've said, oh, I don't like the way this works. I'd like to fix it. And they've basically... I assume what they've done is they've pitched it to Sumrak as, oh, I'm going to fix this, right? As if it's broken. When in reality, it's not actually broken. It's just not the way that they want it to be. They want it to be, better, in quotes. And the better to them might just be more convoluted, more complicated, in a different style to what it is currently. It might not necessarily be better. And instead of recognizing that this is a breaking change, they either haven't recognized that it's a breaking change, because they're stupid, or they've recognized that it's a breaking change and don't care. Because what they also did, they didn't just implement this new method, they also didn't tell anyone. The only way that a lot of us can find out when they make these breaking changes is by literally running a diff between the two different between the experimental and between the new patch and the last patch.
Okay,
So
I get it now. Diff, you mean basically a difference comparison to see what changed?
Yes. So basically, you can look here and you can see. Oh, okay. So in DayZ Player Implement.c, they've changed the way that handle damage hit works to okay. So they've changed the tracking of the damage hits. Devs need to be able to improve things without worrying about how it's being used downstream. No, they don't. Like that is the biggest bullshit cop-out way of justifying the fact that they are too lazy or too self-obsessed to actually realize that there are other people whose experiences depend on them actually having some sort of consideration for everything else that relies on their work. Even as a mod author, I don't have the luxury to be able to change something without considering the impact that it's going to have on other people that modify my stuff, right? So if I want to change Koth tomorrow, right, I have to consider that if I change any of the configs, it fucks over the experience for the 2,000 servers that run Koth. If I change any of the method signatures, anyone who overrides any of the functions in Koth, their servers could not boot. So I have to make that consideration as a modder. The DayZ development team should also make that consideration, especially if they're, especially if that particular developer was, a member of the developer behind a well-known mod. It's not like they don't understand that this is an issue, but there is a history of Bohemia just not caring what the changes, what will impact outside of their own.
I do have to ask this. Like, I've heard people and modders complain about things in the past, but rarely have I heard someone who's as passionate about this.
Angry.
Yes, angry about it as you. Is there a reason why? Like, have you had a disagreement with this person who's made these changes, or is there more to this that we just don't know about? Or
no. I've been essentially at war with Bohemia for about 10 years, if not long. Actually, longer now, 12 years, I'd say. Yeah, since Standalone first came out, because I've been sitting here watching what they do on every time they do anything, and discussing it with other Bohemia Interactive employees who are not on the DayZ development team. And so, I mean, Mr. Aldo Rain can say, that I'm wrong if you like, but this is not what's been reported by other people that work at Bohemia. So, I don't know what you want. Like, this is not like just coming out of nowhere.
See, I wish I was smarter. I wish I knew more about this, because I'm literally sitting here. I don't know enough about this issue. But I know there have been complaints in the past, but I thought things were a lot better. Like, I know recently they had the conference with a whole bunch of modders from both Arma and DayZ, which to me seemed like a great step. Where we were always quite passionate about they needed to communicate better with modders. And then when I heard that had happened, I was like, wow, that's awesome. I wish I'd known it was going to happen, but not so I could be there, because I'd be sitting there like a deer in the headlights. But yeah.
Yeah, the meeting between Mario and some modders was basically that was basically focused on what people wanted for Reforger. That basically, like, what is it that we're not doing well that we can do better?
But is that not a an improvement, like what you're saying? That you've been at war with them for 10 years, you're saying?
No.
Is that not DayZ or BI trying to improve the relationship with modders?
No, because you have to remember that the relationship between DayZ and modders and Armor and modders is very different.
I did
right?
have that said to me that, what they talked about there wasn't really relevant to DayZ because DayZ still operates under the system that it does, whereas Armor 4 will be under this new system. And if DayZ does go to the Reforger platform, then, yeah, sure, that will apply. But right now, so wouldn't you still be able to say that some of the lessons that are being learnt from that could be applied to DayZ in some aspect?
If they want to, but they don't. Like, the relationship between Armor modders and Bohemia has always been fine. They're like, yes, there are frustrating things about Armor modding, but it's nowhere near to the same level as it is with the issues between DayZ modders and Bohemia. Like you can ask Graham, for example. Graham can speak more on the Armor side.
Sorry, who's Graham?
He was in your, I think he was in your the 878 Discord. He's basically the guy who hangs out in the DayZ community that is mostly, linked to the Armor community. But anyway, there are frustrating things about Armor modding, but it's not a case of where Bohemia won't even interact with you about stuff, and they won't take bug reports and things like that. Like there is activity from people like Deadmen in the large Armor mod discords, like the Ace Discord, and things like that. So Bohemia people will come in and they'll provide feedback to the large armor modders, and you've got things like Make Armor Not War and the community, the creator DLCs and things like that, where they do work with modders to make stuff official.
And look, that's something that we've talked about here on the show before. To this day, I still don't understand why they haven't ever done a community DLC for DayZ.
Yeah.
Dab's saying there in chat, he's still confused about what you're complaining about.
No, I'm sure he is.
Armor has 10 times the amount of people we do as 20 years older, which is a good point.
Yep.
Lost you.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm still here.
Yep, there we go.
But yeah, it's what was I saying? Yeah, the issue. So yeah, yeah. So the question was, do I think that the stuff is improving? No, because like I say, that kind of effort from Mario was directed towards Reforger. It wasn't directed towards DayZ. It wasn't, how can we make modding better for DayZ? Because he's modding supervisor for Armor Reforger. So no, I don't think they're improving at all. And like I say, they're still making breaking changes without considering the impact it's going to have on other.
See, I don't know, but just from my pleb point of view, to me it looks like it's improved light years from what it was when I first started doing the show. Is it perfect? No, I don't think anything in life is ever perfect. But it looks to me like the relationship is so much better, even to the point that, several modders known in the community have been hired as staff for BI, which had happened in the past, but it just seems like there's been quite a few more of late, which I thought was a good thing.
Yeah, it's probably better if I don't make comment on that. But yeah, it's anyway, going back to the original issue, the problem with Reforger compared to DayZ with regards to the workflow is that so I was showing earlier about how the difference between binarized and unbinarized assays, etc., and and source and not source. Once you import anything into Reforger, it is then stuck in Workbench. You cannot go from binarized to source. They don't use the feedback tracker. The feedback tracker is a lie. The comment of make a log an issue on the feedback tracker is just bollocks, because there are issues that have been on the feedback tracker for years, and there's a meme in the modding community. DayZ changed the status to assigned. That's what he does. They just change the status to assigned, and then that's it. It just gets ignored. Anyway, you put stuff into Workbench, and then that's it. It's converted into a format that you then cannot get back. You cannot then get access to it. It is, binarized, and those formats have not been reverse engineered. And the only person then that has access to the source of your code, not code, but your models, your textures, etc., is Bohemia. They are the only people who can convert that stuff back into the original formats. And that's a problem, because essentially your work is being held hostage inside Bohemia's product.
Can you go in and update it and then replace that existing model that was in there?
Yes.
It's a bit like a YouTube video. You can do a limited amount of editing, admittedly, with a YouTube video, but if you're going to redo the whole thing, you pretty much got to delete it and just re-upload a new video. I don't fully understand the issue here.
Because the difference is you can still download your YouTube video.
Okay, yep.
Whereas you can't download anything that you've put into Workbench. You can't get that into a format that can be used anywhere other than...
Is that something that they can change if awareness is raised? Is that something like... we've got Dab in chat. Is that something that you would like to be able to do as well, Dab, and any other modders in chat? And yeah, like Darkwing's saying there, what if you lose the source, say your drive crashes?
Yeah, or if somebody's mod deletes your P drive. It's not something that I don't think it's something that they ever would add, because it serves their purposes to basically have you in a closed ecosystem. It's the Apple thing. That's what it is. It's that they want everything that you do to be in their ecosystem, and they want you to be locked in so that you can't get outside of that ecosystem. Zyson, are you talking about the DayZ models or the Reforger ones?
I'm not sure. DayZ.
Oh, right,
DayZ,
yeah. That's what tools like Diodol are for. It's so that you can edit the Bohemia models for whatever reason. It could just be retexturing. Like maybe you just want to take a mesh and you want to load it into Substance Painter and you want to retexture it.
I did get a message just sent to me, which I've got to agree with, that even if your points are valid, the thing that turns a lot of people off is just how much venom you appear to have for the DayZ dev team. Which is it's not likely to influence them in any way.
I'm not trying to. Like that's what people don't seem to understand this. Like I don't care if anyone agrees with me. I don't care if anyone likes me.
We've got that in common then.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, right? There's a bunch of people in the DayZ community who are quite happy to facilitate Bohemia bending the fucking player base over, as they have been for over a decade now, to serve their own selfish fucking purposes. Like, I don't get anything out of me
but
having a pop at the DayZ.
I've had issue with stuff they've done in the past, but
yeah.
what's the selfishness other than being a company and trying to make profit?
Oh no,
Like, I've
no,
alluded.
no. I'm not talking about Bohemia being selfish. I'm talking about the people who are facilitating Bohemia bending people over. So, Bohemia, the decisions that they make fuck the player base over on a regular basis, right? I don't think there's anyone in the community that would disagree with the fact that Bohemia have a long history
But
of
they're not.
making changes that make life worse for people.
This is not just a BI thing. Like, we've talked about some of the stuff that's happened in the past, and yeah, it's caused issues for modders, in particular server owners as well. You know,
Yep.
whenever a patch is dropped, it's, you know, people, especially the big servers. You know, I remember my mate Spud. You know, he would basically, yeah, I've got a couple of days leave planned that I'll need to you know, get the server back up and functioning and all the rest of it. We don't seem to be anywhere near that, but they're not the only company. Like, you've only got to look at like Red Dead Redemption 2, the lack of support that Rockstar gave that game, which no one can really understand because it's such a damn good game. But you know, that's not just a BI thing, and that's where, yeah, my only advice to you, mate, would be, yeah, I get that you've got issue with the way that they've handled things in the past, but I don't think it's as Illuminati sort of stuff as you have made it kind of appear, but it's more just, this is sometimes how shit goes. It's not fucking good, but you know, they're not the only company. It's not just purely a BI thing that this does. Like, I've always thought that BI is one of the better company when it comes to working with modders, because you know, I've often said to people when they complain about how basic DayZ and other games are, and I said, well, that's always been their formula. They just develop a base game and then let the modders flesh it out, and you know, they do add some stuff themselves. And you know, I've always wanted to see them do more with DayZ. That's always been my biggest gripe. Like we discussed, you know, the lack of a proper community DLC that sees some modders getting financially rewarded properly through the sale of a mod. I would love to see that, and I've never had anyone explain to me why they've never done it with DayZ. It just, you know, I've said this before, and you know, I even talked about it in the interview with Dean. It's always just come across as if they don't like DayZ as much as they like Armour, and I kind of understand that as well, because Armour's their baby, and some upstart bloody Kiwi came in and created a mod that did better than their games. But
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what. Like, did you see you spoken to Dean about this? Is there any chance that this was Dean's request, that DayZ not be commercialized on a mod level?
Don't know. I didn't actually discuss that with him.
That's the only thing that would make sense to me, is that if part of the original deal was that DayZ as a game should not be commercialized, because I know that Dean never wanted to commercialize Armour mods. He just wanted to provide a game to the community. He didn't want people to be making money from it. So maybe it was part of the original pitch for DayZ, and that's why they're not allowing mod monetization. I don't know, because like you say, it makes business sense to do it, like they do it with Armour 3. So I don't know.
No, I think I've said before, do they not like money? Because if they did, you know, and provided it was a good one, you know, so just imagine if they did it with Bitterroot, you know, the amount of hype around that, or Namolsk. Namolsk always surprised me why that never went official, but that's a different story. You know, Helkiana's touched on that a bit, and Sumrak's made some statements, but yeah, you know, Banov and Deer Isle, and we've just got so many amazing maps that yeah, we could have seen a really interesting community DLC, especially with console, and yeah, it'd be a great source of revenue. There's way more people playing DayZ than there is Armour every day. So, but yeah, I do wonder, but we'll never know, because you know, they're pretty much a private company, bar some shares sold to Tencent and stuff like that. And end of the day, it's their company and they run it the way they want. But yeah, I still love the game. And I'm thankful for the modders that make the game so much better and allow me to play the game the way I like to play. But I just didn't realize, like, yeah, even I've just never heard anyone talk about it quite this passionately.
This is not an uncommon attitude, believe it or not. There are plenty of people in the modding community that are incredibly
It seems like it's a very
frustrated.
divided thing because it's no secret for those who know, you and Dab don't get along. But when we've had other people in the chat here, like this, Lieutenant Elder Rain and Zyson and others who are basically disagreeing with a lot of what you say, that they don't understand. So, you can either write them off as, big suckers of DayZ, or just that, that you're the other opposite. You're, I know there's a word for it, but you're like the antichrist of modders. You hate the company that you develop the mods for. So I don't think it's as black and white as as some people might think it is. Listening to this, it's a very divided issue. But at the end of the day, there's no doubting that they do some weird shit when it comes to the relationship with mods over the years.
There's the issue with the division in the community that I see is that there are I don't specifically want to call individual people out, but there are
I wouldn't want to either if they're not here to defend themselves. That's always kind of been a position of mine that if they're not here to defend themselves, we shouldn't really be talking about them.
Yeah. So, okay. Sorry. So, all right. So, on a generic level, there are people that go out of their way to defend the DayZ development team. One of the things they tend to do is they tend to criticize Bohemia, and say that the DayZ development team are being held back by Bohemia, etc. Statements which are just patently untrue. And
how do you know that?
Like I say, based on feedback from people at BI that aren't on the DayZ development team.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think it's a shame that there aren't armor specific modders in the stream, etc., because I think you'd get a very different picture painted by some of them than you would.
I did share it in the Infusion Discord, hoping to get some more modders, especially from the armor community. And I tagged the guy that I know the best from, who's quite integral in the armor community, and that's Armor 3 Mel. And I was hoping to get some more in, but we're only a small show.
But it's so that there's a group. There are people in the DayZ community that will defend Bohemia because they believe that it will benefit them personally, i.e., it will help them be hired by Bohemia as developers, and they will defend Bohemia on pretty much every single thing that they do, regardless of how valid that defense is, in an attempt to basically make their own lives, quote unquote, better. I don't know how much better working for Bohemia would be than not working for Bohemia, but that's something between them and their sort of comfort levels. But it becomes a problem when there are people like that, and then any criticism of Bohemia is then shouted down by those people and then said, oh no, you're just making it, you're just full of shit, oh, I know this, I know that's not true, blah 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 blah. My mate on the dev team said it wasn't true. Like, okay.
Sorry, just responding to God Shadow there. He said, is it possible they're also defending them because they believe what they believe in? Why does this need to be financial? Not quite sure what he means by that. You losing your code is your problem, is what Aldo's saying there.
Yeah, that was in response to somebody saying, what if you lose the original source and you can't...
Oh, okay, yep.
Yeah. See, again, that's your issue. That's the attitude from, it's... Dude, I don't know.
This seems like it's a bit more of a standards of what you expect from them thing here. Aldo's got a more simplistic response. No, not simplistic. That's not the right word. But yeah, but yeah. Got Shadow saying he mentioned that he believes people are only defending Bohemia to get a job there. That's a pretty big assumption. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's one that pans.
I don't know. Look, I've enjoyed hearing your views, and I do agree on some points. But I've always said I'll have anyone on this show who wants to come on who's got a opinion that interests me, and I did want to hear what this was about. It wasn't actually what I thought. I thought it was going to be more about that BI would own the rights to those mods and could do with them what they wanted.
Oh, that is the thing as well. But it's more about them. It's the fact that your mods are being held hostage. That's the main issue, is that you can't get stuff out of the engine once you put it in. And to me, that's like you paying into a pension fund, and then the people that you're paying the money to just keep it and don't let you have it. Like, I don't know. It just feels dodgy. Go make a game on a Unity or Unreal then. Why is that the attitude? Why is the attitude, if you don't like it, go fuck yourself? Like the DayZ community has given Bohemia $300 and something million. Why is the attitude, if you don't like it, go fuck yourself?
I do kind of agree with you there. That if it would be good to see a more across the board standard of similar stuff, but at the end of the day, it is BI's company, and they can, and their game, and they can do with it what they want, and the player numbers are through the roof, so they've got to be doing something right. But yeah, mate, I've still enjoyed it regardless. I don't fully understand a lot of it. I'll freely admit that, because I'm just a dumb pleb who talks into a microphone and pisses everyone off on the internet. But I do care about modders. And Zyson saying there, I agree that BI could make things easier on modders. They could give us a marketplace, let us use their models, but I don't agree that they should make changes that break mods. And that's been an issue in the past. That there's been changes that have had some truly horrendous effects on mods, and as the flow on of that is servers. So the community servers are, I recall some servers being down for a week or so. The bigger crews that have got a team of people behind them are usually able to get things back up quicker. And even communicate with the devs and say, look, this is what you've done. And they can fix it quickly. But the smaller community servers, some of them have struggled to get back up again.
I think Zyson said he doesn't agree that they shouldn't make changes.
Shouldn't? Yes,
they should be allowed.
Sorry, I read that wrong.
I agree with Zyson, but I think they need to notify people beforehand. If you're going to do that,
that comes back to your issue before, people. What you said about how they used to chuck stuff in after the final play test and experimental, and the modders were all going, what? Why is this? And then you've got to go through and yeah. So that's clearly a communication issue, and I thought they had gotten better with that.
They do things like hold on, so I'm just reading Aldo's. Yeah, but you're making the assumption that the Bohemia dev process works in any way the same as any other proper company, and it doesn't. Unfortunately it doesn't, and that's part of the issue. That's why they have. I'm not making assumptions. This is feedback that's been given by Bohemia employees. So.
Disgruntled employees or
No, the current employees.
okay.
Just like I say, not on the DayZ team. That's hearsay. It's hearsay for you to say that Bohemia is the same as any other development company. You don't have a fucking clue. You're just making an assumption. Like, the difference is that, you know, there's first-hand reports, and then there's, you know, a dude in a Twitch chat. Like, come on, dude. Anyway, the what was I saying beforehand? Oh yeah.
About the issue with when a mod comes up and it breaks things and
yeah, they should literally, like, when you refactor something, you have a vague idea of what it's going to break, you know, beforehand. Like, okay, this could impact this. Like, it would be nice to see that in the patch notes, you know, not just, you know, like, oh, fixed bug here or added new item thing, but like, when the people, because the argument is, oh, surely they had to pitch this, you know, this refactor to somebody else and then have it approved, etc. If that's the case, then why is their original pitch for that refactor not included in the patch notes? Because that would make things a lot easier. There isn't. It was a rhetorical question. There's no real answer to that. Because first,
this comes back to what we have said on the show in the past, MDC, where they do need to communicate with the modders who make this game as successful as it is for those of us on PC, better in the lead up to the drops of an experimental patch to stable, so that they are able to prepare, because it's only a win-win for everyone. They can identify issues, like we saw when Dab raised his concern about the changes to, I think it was clothing statuses, or
they introduced base classes for clothing items.
Yep. And I heard feedback from both sides of it. Some didn't like it, some did, but they took on board and they reversed the change, as I understand it. I'm not sure if they've ever gone back to it, but there were some people who didn't agree with what Dab said. There were some who did.
Yeah, Tyson.
And yeah, they did take that on board, and that was good to see. And if they can do more of that, that's only a win-win for everyone. So I don't think anyone in here would disagree. That one main point that it seems to be is that they just need to communicate better before they drop a patch.
Yeah, because I want to point out that the only reason that was even that even like got discovered is that Dab went into he did a diff between the two patches and saw, oh, they've changed all this. This could be an issue. Like, Bohemia didn't tell the community they were going to do this.
Yeah,
and the frustrating thing, the thing that people think is the main complaint with Bohemia, or with developers in general, like, again, like you say, it's not exclusive to Bohemia, but a lot of people think that the main complaint that we'll have is, oh, well, they shouldn't have done that in the first place because that's stupid. And that is true, but that's not the worst thing. The worst thing is not telling people about it. Like, you can make a mistake and then have that mistake caught and then avoid the terrible consequences of that mistake. But if you make a mistake, don't tell anyone until it's too late. That's an issue. Like, you just, I think the constant thing from 2012 to today is that Bohemia do not communicate effectively with the community. And they've stopped lying as much as they used to, but they just need to tell us before they do shit, really. Like, if that's going to affect us. If it's an internal change that's not going to affect anything, it doesn't matter. Like, we don't need to know. Like, if they're changing the network protocol, like, that's not something that we are supposed to fuck with. So that's fine. You don't need to tell us about that. If you're going to change, you know, if you're going to make player base inherit from something else other than DayZ player implement, then we need to know that, because otherwise every single mod out there that mods player base is going to break. And when you try and start a server that has anything that has modded class player base extends DayZ player implement in it,
and it's just not a good look for a mod if that happens.
It's what?
But yeah, it's just not a good look for them either. When they release a patch and all the servers are down for days, trying to patch things to get back up again. But yeah, like Left Head and Elder Rain just said there, if you are frustrated, we get it. And God Shadow saying that's a fair complaint as well. And I think at the end of the day, that's it. That they just need to communicate better. I think we can all agree on that. And the only other thing I would have say for you, MDC, is try not to be so angry about it, because if you can learn anything from me, railing against everyone and being that prick in the that thorn in the side or something doesn't win you many friends.
I don't want any. That's the difference. Like I genuinely don't care. I've been playing the bad guy with regards to Bohemia for like long enough.
Yet you still do mods for them.
Just don't care. No, I don't. See this? So somebody said earlier. Let me see if I can scroll up somewhere. Blah 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 blah. I can't remember who it was, but they said, "Oh yeah, it was Dot Shadow." It's the attitude of, if you don't like how the company does business, why are you still supporting it? I'm not supporting Bohemia. I'm supporting the victims of Bohemia. Like
you are very good for words, my man. You're up there with those extreme right and left wing commentators with the victims of BI.
Yeah, but that's what it boils down to. There are people out there. There are server owners out there. Like, again, a big example of this goes back to, you remember the Fonzie issue, right?
Yeah,
where
that's
everyone's servers were being fucking attacked by this
storm
asshole
thing. Yeah.
So, do you know what that was? Did anyone ever explain that?
All I was told was it was something that they couldn't identify. They didn't know how to fix it. That's the last I heard of it.
Yeah, it's what got me banned from the modders Discord, for the record. But basically what happened was there was a bug in the engine, specifically in the network protocol, in network manager.
Okay, just quickly, is this something we should be talking about?
It's fixed.
Okay, good.
Fixed. Yeah, it's fixed. And it was fixed very, very well by a member of Bohemia. So anyway, not a member of the DayZ dev team is the interesting part. So basically, there was a bug that was present in Arma 2 years ago and Arma 3, and was fixed. Basically, the network stack did not validate. It didn't double check to make sure a player was who they said they were. So there's a few ways that this server identifies who a player is. So they use something called a DPN ID. They use your Steam ID. They use your Bohemia Interactive ID, etc. When players are logged into the game, they have what's called an identity. If you can pretend that you have a different identity, then any message that you send to the server will be interpreted as coming from that identity. So you have what the guy was doing is he was logging into the server, and then he was telling the server that he was a different player with a different identity. And then he was sending net messages, which are basically the low-level part of the network protocol that says, okay, do this, do that, do this. And he was sending them as other players' identities, including admins. Do you remember when VPP added the password to the community to log into the admin tools? That was why that was done, because the attacker could spoof the identity of the players, of other players on the server. So if there was an admin logged in, he could spoof the identity of the admin and then send basically do admin commands, spawn things, kill players, change the weather, etc. All of that was being done by spoofing the identity. And when I figured that out, I was able to tell a member of the Armor development team how he was doing it. And then he looked at the code, and then within 10 minutes, he said, "Oh, yeah, I found it. They still haven't fixed this yet." And it was something that had been fixed in Armor, hadn't been fixed in DayZ, and yet the DayZ development team claimed that it wasn't an issue, that it was only an issue with third-party mods, it wasn't anything to do with their code, etc. And they did this for over a year. And there were certain server owners, the owner of Trump's Wall being the biggest victim of this, a guy called Modern, who was like absolutely fucking miserable because this guy had been taking down Trump's Wall for years.
Yeah, he destroyed that whole community.
Yeah, and Modern had contracts with OVH. Like, he'd taken out like yearly commitment contracts with OVH, so he had like 6 servers paying £120 a month per fucking server. So he was on the hook for literally tens of thousands of dollars. And this asshole was taking his server down, and Bohemia were just saying, "Oh no, it's not our fault. It's not our fault," when it was their fault the whole time. And I had no idea this was going on. Modern told me about like, I don't know, like a year in, and I looked into it. I sent him some stuff. I asked him to capture some logs, sent him some logging mods, and then eventually he said, "Look, there's a feedback tracker ticket open for this. Go and have a look." And I looked, and it was just page after page of Bohemia saying, "Oh, this is caused by a third party mod. This isn't our issue, etc." And I got desperate, and I messaged a dude who was on the armor development team and said, "Look, this is what I think is happening." I even spoke to a guy called Duggan, who was one of the original like hackers for DayZ and Armor back in the day, and he gave some input. He basically didn't know exactly how the guy was doing it, but he wondered if it was potentially due to like network messages. And then I found the original leaked source code for DayZ and looked through Network Manager and found something that I thought could potentially be the issue. And then I sent that over to the guy, and then he said, "Yeah, I found it." And that got fixed literally in 15 minutes after I had a conversation with a guy from Armor. And yet the DayZ dev team had been sitting there for a year saying that it wasn't an issue with their code. That's the problem that I have. There are people like Modern and his player base that are victims of Bohemia. That's why I do any of the work that I do on this game. I do for them, not for Bohemia. I'm not doing this to get Bohemia more customers or to get, make their game more popular or whatever. I'm doing it to make the experience a little bit better for the people that have already paid Bohemia money. Because it's not their fault.
Fair. That's fair. I can actually respect and understand that. That's again, no one from the DayZ dev team's here to defend themselves on that, and I don't know. There's been throughout history. There's so many examples of when there's been a major issue and it has been something relatively simple. So yeah, like Alderain's saying there, corporate fuckery occurs for sure. Whether that be dodgy stuff or just be a case of a complete and utter oversight. Something that it sounds like they'd already identified. And in their defense, the only thing I can say is they probably assumed that it was already fixed in theirs. If anything, you ought to be applauded for finding it and getting that thing fixed. Sadly, not in time to save Modern and Trump's Wall. I did try to, with my own little tiny bit of reach, talk about what was happening with him and retweeting the stuff when he was going through the terrible attacks that were being done on him by Fonzie and Third Temple guys and all the rest of it. But I do try to err on the side of caution. they should have flagged the ticket for both DayZ and Armour. I don't think this is malice, but a fail for sure. Yeah, 100% agree. 100% agree. Aldo saying there, if I could say one last thing, it's this: devs rarely make decisions about what it is they are going to work on, fix, add to the game. Bugs and changes get triaged by product owners and project managers. So, yeah, that's his experience from 25, 26 years, I think he said, of working with two very well-known companies, Lionshead and Rockstar. I'd love to talk to you about your experience with Rockstar, by the way. You hear so much about them, but only, you usually only ever hear the bad stuff about companies. That's just the way everything is these days, isn't it, MDC?
Yeah, I mean, they bought CFX.re, Rockstar. So, they're clearly open to working with modders these days. I don't know whether it was just that they saw the amount of money that GTA roleplay servers were making and wanted some of that back, but no, I mean, at least they're working. Somebody said earlier that it's against the TOS to mod GTA 5, and I don't know how true that is anymore. Because, like I say, they're working officially with the Red M and 5M guys.
Well, mate, I just want to say thank you. It's been a great discussion. And these are the ones I honestly really enjoy these the most, MDC, in that, I don't fully still understand, even the stuff you were showing. I've been told I may have to delete something as well from the VOD, but I'll do that later. Right. But I really appreciate hearing these sorts of things because, you did raise some issues that I think everyone can agree on. And at the end of the day, you've got to have people who are on both sides of something. I say this when it comes to politics as well. A lot of people are surprised when they find out I'm a swing voter. I definitely lean some ways, but I'm not blind to, you see some people with their blind support and membership of political parties and all the rest of it. I'll never trust them motherfuckers. Never trust them because they're so up the arse of whatever the ideology is that they're following that they refuse to countenance that there could be something wrong with it. And it's the same with blind support of whether it be a dev company, a game, a football team, or anything like that. Maybe not a football team, that's fairly harmless, except for their antics off the field. But you've got to be open to hearing the other side, as well as, we try to focus as much as possible on the good. But yeah, like Pyres is saying, you can't trust the narcissists. And a lot of those people who are blind on an extreme, you've got to be careful of what you take on board. But I appreciate you coming on, MDC, and voicing your concerns, mate. It was a good discussion.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I did warn you that I'd come on and spend an hour.
No, you did. You did, but I still wanted to get you on, mate, because that's despite what a lot of people think of the show. We're called the DayZ Podcast, but many times in the past we've talked about issues we've had as well. And I try to be as balanced and as open to hearing countering opinions to what I believe. And I like what Aldo just said in chat there. Much love, MDC. It ain't beef, matey.
No worries, dude.
We've got to everyone has to learn. We've got to be able to disagree on things and not have to hate each other. There's way too much hate in this world at the moment. Darkwing saying there, MDC has his opinions, but he's one of the handful of people who knows what he's talking about when it comes to DayZ, the kind of guy you're blessed for his help. You've got your fan base, mate. You've got people who love you and love what you do. I think you've made some more. You've probably made a few more enemies. You're a bit like me, mate. It's water off a duck's back. The list is long and distinguished for both of us, isn't it, mate?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I'm just out here looking in the discords of people bitching about the podcast during the podcast, bitching about me. So
mate, they'll I always say, bitch to me. Come and tell me what your problems are with what I do on the show, because I'll take feedback. It's the only way that I can improve. I'm not perfect. I'm far from it, but I do genuinely enjoy critiques, feedback, roasts, all the rest of it. But yeah, mate, we are at our 1 hour 30 mark, which is our time frame for the show. Thank you so much. Everyone, we're coming back to a weekly format now. Sadly, none of my co-hosts could make it. Not sure what happened to Archie or Lemons, but Cobra has been dealing with a pretty bad case of COVID. So his voice has been playing up on him. Once that's all sorted, he'll be back on a more regular basis. But yeah, our next guest for the show, let me just scroll down and find my guest list dates. Next week, we have the one, the only, I can't say it. We said that we weren't going to propagate that falsehood anymore.
The new
Lad.
Bohemia Interactive employee.
Lad is coming on as a guest to talk about his Winter Churnerous mod and everything that's been going on with that, because that's looking pretty damn good so far. His updates he's been doing to it. The frozen lakes in particular, I'm quite excited to see. They're more hiding barrels and crates in the edge of the water, MDC.
I know.
But yeah.
Oh, there's another mod that you need to repack vanilla assets for, because otherwise you wind up with purple trees. Because the RV mats are baked into, the RV mats are baked into the models, into the tree models. So if you want to change the RV mat for some of the trees to make them a different color, make them white, etc., some of the pine trees, you would have to take the vanilla model and then debinarize it and then repack it and then put it back into the mod. And you can't do that. So that ticket that Heltiana opened up, also relevant for things like Winter Chernarus and Summer Chernarus and all that kind of stuff. So there you go.
Well, all the best, everyone, and we will see you same time, same channel next week. MDC, I will spam your links again there, mate. If people want to get in contact with you, you're on Twitter. You stream on occasion, so check him out. And there's a link to his Steam workshop as well, if you want to see the sort of mods that he's done and is doing. All the best, everyone, and we will see you next week. Hang around after the show, MDC. We'll have a quick chat before you go. All the best, everyone. Ciao for now.